Had a busy offseason with that same goal in mind. Outside of signing Rodgers, Pittsburgh also traded for DK Metcalf and gave a huge extension to TJ Watt. They hope this will be enough to earn their first playoff win in 8 seasons. The Steelers will start their campaign with Rodgers returning to MetLife to take on his former team, the New York Jets. Across from him will be Justin Fields, who's also facing his former team in the Steelers. How about them apples? Mike T joining the party. Great to have you here with us.
Good to be here.
Stephen, I'll start with you. How fast of a start do the Steelers need to get to this season?
Well, I definitely think they need to get off to a strong start because, when you've got the Jets, the Seahawks, and the New England Patriots in your first 3 weeks of the NFL season, and you're going to struggle with them, what the hell are we to believe from that? You're certainly not going to believe over the next 13 to 14 games or so that you're going to be any better if you struggle in those 3 games. So I think it's important that they get off to a strong start. And I think it's good for them psychologically. Having Aaron Rodgers as your new quarterback and getting off to a strong start puts them in a position to feel even more confident about him moving forward. This is a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. And we know that, and that's really what this comes down to. We know that the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens are considered the 2 best teams in the AFC North, not necessarily in that order. And so for the Steelers to make some noise, I definitely think it's going to be important for them to start off a little bit strong. You've got Metcalf, you got a new wide receiver, Pickens is gone. You kept some other pieces there. Freiermuth is still there. Warren is still there in the backfield, even though Najee Harris is gone. So you got some familiar pieces in there, but it all starts with Aaron Rodgers and what he and Metcalf are going to be able to do. And if they start off strong, I think that'll go a long way towards producing a positive season.
Mike T?
Yeah, look, we talked about this yesterday. Look, over the last 3 years, guys, there's only 4 quarterbacks that have a worse QBR than Aaron Rodgers. And we're going to see a litmus test early, guys, when you think about he's going to go up against Sam Darnold and Justin Fields. So obviously a lot of Jet connections here between those 3 quarterbacks. But to me, Aaron Rodgers has to show not what he's done, which is an all-time great, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl winner. It's more about what he's going to do. And again, guys, in the history of pro football, only 2 quarterbacks have started a playoff game, 42 or older. So I think he has to get off to a good start to earn the trust and respect of his teammates. And for those first 2 games to me are going to be really interesting.
RC?
Yeah, Molly, can I take your seat for a second and ask you a question?
Of course.
How many friends or fans do you believe you have that just never support you? Do you have any people that you consider a friend or a fan that consistently goes against you or says negative things about you or doesn't support you?
I mean, if they're your friend, they're supporting you if they're a real friend.
Yeah, and if they're a fan, a lot of times the fans support too. That's how they become a fan. Because what I can't get is how Stephen A. continues to call himself a Steeler fan and be such a hater. Like, the fact that during his beautiful, eloquent response, he goes, well, everybody believes that the Bengals and the Ravens are better. Who believes that? Are the Baltimore Ravens one of the top teams in the NFL? Absolutely. I'll give you them. But last I checked, a Cincinnati Bengal team that looked extremely similar to this one was sitting at home when the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing in the playoffs last year. So you're telling me that we should expect Mike Tomlin to be walking into training camp and saying the standard is the standard, but we have no standard that we think we can be better than the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that didn't go to the playoffs last year and can't sign their best defensive player? So Stephen A. was to come on this show and say, oh, wait, I don't really believe that they are that good. I don't really believe that they do have a chance. When all Omar Khan has done as the general manager is continue to add good football players with great NFL pedigree. But no, Mike T can't get this team to be good enough to win. The Pittsburgh Steelers need to start fast because of this. There's always a microscope on what the Pittsburgh Steelers do because unlike what George Pickens said, the Pittsburgh about the Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are synonymous with Super Bowls. But in being synonymous with Super Bowls throughout history, the last 10 years they aren't. The last 10 years they are synonymous with winning playoff games, but there's already going to be a microscope on them. Now you add Aaron Rodgers to that mix, and what Mike T has talked about over and over again, the QBR over the last 2 years. People are going to want to see what Aaron Rodgers has showed up to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why a fast start is needed. A fast start is needed so you don't have to answer the questions on whether or not this relationship will work very early on. It's going to be difficult for this team to win a Super Bowl, to win a championship, absolutely. But this is a playoff football team with a playoff roster and a Hall of Fame head coach. And I'm not going to walk into this season doubting what they could be when looking at the roster, especially defensive.
So Stephen A., are you not a real
Hater.
fan or a real fan?
You know, Ryan's full of it, okay? I'm not letting him get away with that. Here's the thing, it's hilarious. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they ain't won a playoff game since 2016, and I'll point out that fact, and I'm hating, as opposed to pointing out a fact that is undeniable. The standard that is the standard hasn't been met, and we all know that. We love Mike T. I love Mike T. I think he's a great coach and a great guy. Nothing but love for him. But damn it, I want a playoff victory. I'm a Yankees fan. I want a World Series. I'm a Knicks fan. I want a berth to the finals. I want a championship. I ain't had in 1973. Me pointing that out ain't hating. Me pointing that out is a frustration that rakes through the core of a fan base. And by the way, Ryan Clark, RC, Mr. Pivot himself, just pivoted like nobody else can, okay? I would like to remind you of the importance of being very, very careful. Ryan, there's footage on Monday Night Football. There's footage on NFL Live. There's footage on Get Up. There's footage on First Take. And I can assure you, I can pull out some clips. Are you hating whether it's on Aaron Rodgers or a Pickens or somebody else that was on the Steelers or is on the Steelers? I'm the one that said Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, and I believe in him. I didn't hear you saying that. Let me tell you something right now. Be very, very careful, Ryan Clark. I got clips now. I got clips, and I'll play them. Don't you start with me. Don't you start.
Hey,
come on, man.
I have said nothing but glowing things
You
about
sure?
Aaron Rodgers
You
since
sure
he
about
became
that?
our quarterback.
You sure?
I said since he became our quarterback.
Really? You
I
sure
have
about
said
that?
nothing but
You sure about
glowing. Listen, America, listen.
That's a technicality.
I believe in Aaron Rodgers.
That's a technicality.
I believe.
Okay, yeah, Now you say that. But what did they say the day before he arrived with the Steelers? It's 24 hours earlier. What did you say then? You see what I'm saying? Come on
This is
now.
not a relationship. No, this is not a relationship where you got to get to bring up old stuff. See, that's what happens when people aren't getting what they want out the present conversation. They want to bring up old stuff. We got to move on from those past traumas. We need to heal, and in healing, it can allow us to move forward. Listen to Molly, all the work Molly's done on herself. She knows we can't stay stuck with those old gremlins, right? That seem to just rear their ugly head with everything.
Hey,
You still have some gremlins, Stephen A.
I got it. Ryan Clark is the black football version of Mark McGuire. He ain't here to talk about that.
I hear you.
That's what it is, man. That's what it is, man. I'm not here to talk about the past. I understand. All right. At least you weren't Sammy Sosa needing an interpreter. I give you that.
Mike T, I'll give you the final word on
All right.
this.
Speaking of old guys, that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is. They have 4 starters that are over 30. Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Cam Hayward, and T.J. Watt. They got to get off to a fast start because that defense may wear down during the season. So we're going into the season.
Oh, well, now we've
talking
been
about-
down on the defense, too.
I'm
This
just-
isn't
I'm
looking
just-
good for you.
I'm just saying, like, an older defense typically doesn't get better during the season.
Mike T is not feeling the Steelers.
I want to ask Ryan, before we go to break, I wanted to ask Ryan this question real quickly, in all seriousness. I was really sad that they lost, they gave away Minka Fitzpatrick. I loved him on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like Ramsey a lot, but damn, that's a lot. How do you feel about Jonas Smith and Jalen Ramsey being on the Steelers instead of Minka Fitzpatrick?
Yeah. First of all, I wish you could have kept Minka Fitzpatrick, but there's no way that Jalen Ramsey becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler without having some assets be involved in that trade. I think the thing that happened with Minka was a little bit of discomfort with the way he was utilized. Minka wants to be free. Minka wants to have the ability to go make plays, to be involved. And his pairing with Deshaun Elliott to do that. So I think there was some frustration that could bubble up for someone who is such a playmaker, such an instinctive player. And I feel like Jalen Ramsey fits and can be utilized in more ways than Nico was, but also more ways than Nico was willing. And so I think that this is a good switch if Jalen is able to ingratiate himself in different pieces of this defense. And everything I'm hearing out of training camp and seeing from the couple of clips I've seen seems that Jalen is finding a way